So they tell us. Welcome to the Claiming Ground edition of the Horse Racing Happy Hour. Louie hanging out with you as I do every single Thursday except for next Thursday. There's no show next Thursday. I need a week off, people, so leave me alone. We're off next Thursday. The Cherry Drank Man himself, Josh Rodriguez, joins us from the On the Wrong Lead podcast. Go find him there. They have a set of podcasts over there. Many of you, dozens, follow that every week, and dozens more of you should. Josh, say hi to the people.
What's up? Hope you guys having a good Thursday here. So excited to talk about some Churchill Downs, one of my favorite tracks. So
yeah, for sure, and a spectacular day of full gates and all of those things. We bring in the stud from Smyrna. His name is Danny Brewer. I had to buy him dinner a couple days ago. Danny, how are you? How are you doing?
Hey, I'm great, man. I'm wonderful, and I like that stud from Smyrna. Hey, rock on.
We're gonna have to roll with that because I want to tell you something else. But Barry Spears is here, and I don't say bad words in front of Barry. Barry, how are you?
What's up, man? Hanging in there. Just braving this cold weather that we're having.
Brutal.
This 65 degrees is for the birds, bro.
Barry, of course, with that Roberto Clemente hat. Shout out to Puerto Rico. Never to Say Die Bourbon folks hanging out with us for yet another episode. Check out the great graphics on this guy, but also the double gold medal from the San Francisco Whiskey Competition. Great stuff. Follows the story of Never Say Die. Go visit them, neversaydieBourbon.com. Of course, B21 if you are going to go do that. But thank them for hanging out with us at Breeders' Cup and all month long here on the program as well. Danny is just absolutely yelling at somebody. Is it a dog or your wife? Which one?
It's my dog. I'm not going to yell at my wife because, good Lord, that would be much worse. Man. Yeah, but I got
on the podcast. That's right. Yeah.
See, I've got these wonderful little spaniels. Got these little spaniels, and they, So
they get busy. They get jealous when the attention's on someone that's not them. I'm sure.
Of course.
Hanging out with Josh, Danny, and Barry here. We're going to go roundtable style tonight. Won't keep you for too long here as part of the program, but the Claiming Crown is on Saturday at Churchill Downs. And Barry, this is, you and I are lucky we get to do SoCal Saturdays every week on this program. You and I need to talk after the program, by the way, with Del Mar raining out on Saturday. These are the horses we've been on, for months now, the $5,000 and $8,000 and $10,000 type claimers out there at Del Mar, filling the gates. Santa Anita, the same thing. Now we get to celebrate them all in one day, Barry. Just a cool day, the Claiming Crown.
Yeah, I've been following this series for quite a while now. They had it down here at Gulfstream to kick off the championship meet a few years, and it's always a great event. And you see the outfits you don't normally see on big days, and they do their thing, and it's good to see. You see some horses that get a chance for some nice cash in the spotlight for a day.
There you go. All right. So I forgot to mention where you find Danny other than being a stud in Smyrna. You find him at Forbes. He's a contributor over there. Go find his work there. And of course, Barry, you can find with me every Friday right here at the Horse Racing Happy Hour. We'll get going here with our handicapping to kick off the day. They got a grade 3. It's almost like the actual Breeders' Cup, Barry, where they throw a grade 3 in for no reason right before the card gets rolling. But we moved to grade 2 race 3 on the card here. We'll go a bit around the horn, if you will, but we will start with Barry in the grade 3 Shaluki. It's a mile on the dirt. It is a one-turn mile at Churchill Downs, probably the straightest shoot, frankly, of any mile shoot in the country. This is for fillies and mares 3 and up, and at $300,000 on the line here, Barry. Fun field. We do get an 8-5 morning line favorite in Ragtime. I think she's a deserved favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. This horse should sit a very, very, very good trip, considering how this race kind of shaped up and what the pace scenario looks like. I know this horse is a 3-year-old going against older, but seems to be a lot faster than most of these horses. And we'll get the trip based on Shred the Gnar kind of getting in this race and having a lot of speed, which should go a long way. I just think that Ragtime's experience, especially in graded stakes company, is going to make all the difference. And that's why I think that horse will beat Shred the Gnar, with Impel kind of running up for third.
Got it. All right. So that was the old 7-2-1 kind of trio for you there. Is that about right?
That is exactly right.
All right. Who are you trying to beat with the 7 there, Josh? I'm sure you're trying to beat get away from the chalk there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to stay on brand, and I'm going to take the speed in this race. I think the 2 Shred the Gnar is coming in here. off a bit of a layoff, right? 197-day layoff here. But this is actually a pretty decent move for Brian Lynch. He's 15% when, over 180 days with a $3.68 ROI. So he gets these horses fresh. You get Louie on the front end on a speed horse. I'm going to go ahead. I'll take the 5-2 second choice in this spot. We'll try and get around the 7 here with the 2.
You got a long shot in here, Danny, at all?
I mean, I'm a one magic filly guy. It's not a long shot, but I'm a Brendan Walsh guy, Tyler Gaffleone, won her last start at Keeneland. So I'm a one magic filly, not a long shot, but that's who I'm rolling with is one magic filly.
Yeah, we saw her out west. She was in that Great Lady M, where Sweet Azteca blew by Copian in that race. Of course, Chismosa was also in that race, so she's been in great company coming into this one. I am interested in a longer shot here in the 5-horse in Zadorsky. Joe Ramos riding more and more for trainer Whit Beckman down here in Louisville at Churchill Downs. If you go 3 back with this one, a good run at 7 furlongs at Saratoga. But before that, at the 7.5 distance, winning at Churchill Downs and at Keeneland at that essentially 7 furlongs that they've never quite walked off at Keeneland. Hey, Keeneland, how about we walk that off by the time we get to the spring meet? No, if that's 7 furlongs or not, instead of having to put an asterisk next to everything. But frankly, 1 for 3 at the distance, does have 2 wins at Churchill Downs as well. I don't think this is an accident that that trainer Whit Beckman is throwing this one in here, and I think is kind of a balanced run. If it does get out of touch, a little bit out of sorts early, is one that I think could pick up the pieces later. Barry went 7, 2, and 1. I went 7, 1, 5, and 6 in here. I agree with Danny that one magic filly's got a serious shot as well. This is the Horse Racing Happy Hour. We're doing our Claiming Crown Roundtable. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Thursday evening. The first of the Claiming Crown races is race 4. This is a starter allowance, and the first couple of these, they've changed the conditions so that if you've ever started for a certain claim price, you can be in these races. This one happens to be for $8,000 lifetime. 6 furlongs on the dirt. This is for 3-year-olds and up. Josh is going to go first here. We got $100K on the line here, buddy. I think a couple of worthy morning line favorites in here. Concrete Glory winning this race last year. What did you end up landing?
Yeah, so Concrete Glory 7-5 on the morning line in this spot, and obviously, like you said, won this race last year. Looked good winning it, and you kind of look at the speed figures. I think for this horse, very consistent, right on time form, running in like the 110, 115 range, and then actually popped a really nice figure last time out. Granted, that was 7 furlongs in the slop, and I think that figure got dressed up a little bit just for being on the off track there. Yep. So I kind of went to the other favorite in this spot, the 5 Wound Up. I thought this is a horse that has had 2 very, very tough starts this year, or the last 2 starts, right, in the Grade 3 Green Flash, the Grade 2 Santa Anita Sprint Championship. Just a little bit in over his head in those 2 spots. But if you kind of cross the line through those 2 races, I mean, this is a horse that hasn't done anything wrong in 2025, right? It's rattled off 5 straight wins. Granted, some of those were in those kind of restricted NorCal or NorCal preferred races. But speed figure wise, this is a horse that definitely fits very well with this group, has done it on the front end, and has also let other horses kind of get the lead and kind of track just off the pace. So I think that's going to be important in this spot, because I do think the 2 Illini and the 7 Concrete Glory, both, they have a ton of speed. I definitely think Concrete Glory is going to want to get to the front end, and from that outside post, I think is going to be just a little bit hampered, I think. And so I landed on the 5 Wound Up as my top choice in here. I thought if you want to look a little deeper, I thought horses like the 4 Raymond as kind of an off the pack type horse here to kind of maybe get a piece here, but it's always tough with these Prairie Meadow horses because they have the different medication rules there. You don't know how these horses are going to ship. So you're only getting 6 to 1. But maybe the 9 horses, another place you could go. Tap in Formation was another one, looked interesting. But and he kind of seems like an every other type, yes, where he kind of runs a nice race and kind of runs a little bit of a stinker. So he's actually going to be on the right side of the form pattern here, so he could be one that maybe takes a step forward and gets a piece here. But the 5 Wound Up is going to be my top choice in here.
Wound Up is trained by Labrado Barosio. Ironically, just had his first Breeders' Cup starter with Lovesick Blues. We'll try to run it back here in the Claiming Crown on Saturday. Cool stat, these kinds of things that I always love. Tap in Formation, This will be his 14th start of the year already. Love that kind of
Nice.
stuff from these Saturdays. Danny, we saw that West Coast form, speaking of wound up the 5 here, we saw it transfer really well over Derby week. Many of those horses came in, Copian amongst them, from the Southern California ranks. We saw those jockeys show up and do just fine in here as well. You expect to see a little bit of that on Saturday as well?
I think it absolutely can happen. I like Labrado Barocho.
Yeah.
Any of the older horses, he seems to thrive on taking horses a little bit older in age, and this is a 5-year-old wound up, and really can get the best out of them. So that's where he thrives, is those horses that seem to be, other people may throw on the scrap heap, he takes them and really gets the most out of them. So no, I think that absolutely the West Coast horse, because there's a Peter Miller horse later on that I'm sure we'll talk about that I think is really good. So no, I think the West Coast horses could do very well on Saturday.
Yeah, Barry, you got a long shot in here you like? I thought this was an interesting race outside of those top 2.
Yeah, I mean, this race, it looks like on paper there's a ton of speed, and I can definitely see a lot of scenarios where a horse like the one Swaggish could get a really good trip, especially with Louie Size aboard. I think this horse merits a real long look because of the fact that this horse is cutting back in distance and should get a favorable setup as far as the pace scenario goes. But honestly, Raymond is the other one that really, really looks good here. For it not Skelly, this horse would have won 6 straight at Oaklawn, and I say in the teeth of that meet, basically from January through April is probably where the competition there is the best. Even those condition claimers are more like open company,
Right.
and this horse was doing very, very well at that point, and has been continuing in great form up until now. Had a bit of a freshening, nice workout November 7th. I think Raymond's going to run big.
Yeah, interesting race for sure, especially so many of them getting back to a distance that they haven't been at before or switching back on surfaces. But hey, I will say this. I'll be talking to Joe Sharp tomorrow, 10:20, by the way, on ESPN 680 here in town, ESPN Louisville. You can find it at ESPNLouisville.com. He doesn't put horses in spots at Churchill Downs by accident. The man won the spring training title. Let's put it that way. So now these are spots that he understands very, very well. Race 8 is race 5, is another one of these lifetime races. It is for $25,000 lifetime, 1.16 miles on the turf, going 2 turns on the grass there at Churchill Downs. And this one is for fillies and mares that are 3 and up, 150 on the line here. Danny, you'll go first here. I can't get enough of a 1.16 miles and an 1/8 turf races at Churchill Downs. I'm just glad that the grass works again, and so that's nice. Danny, who'd you get in here?
This scenario right here is typical of my goats on a tree. When I look around here and I see that this looks like goats on a tree. If you can see what's happening here with all 4 of us on the screen, goats on a tree, baby. That's what I'm talking about right there. So that's my top pick. Mike Maker, he is. We talk about thriving. Talk about Labrado.
And claiming crown history. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Maker. I mean, he is excellent at taking horses that seem to be thrown on the scrap heap and making something out of them. So, goats on a tree. He won these 3 for 5 this year. Yeah. So, that's who I'm landing on first. That's my top pick is goats on a tree. One last out at Belmont. Another horse, if we're going to take, and I think this is a day when you take a swing. There are plenty of good horses in here. So a Windy Walk, the Louie Saez. I'm with Barry. I think Louie Saez, any race, if you don't know who to take in a race, you take the Louie Saez horse because Louie is excellent at getting the most out of his mounts. So Windy Walk is another horse that I like that I think, at a little bit of a price, 12-1, I think maybe could get there.
Yeah, so the 11 and the 10 there for Danny on top, man. I'll go next here. I like Cairo Street. If we're going to stay outside the 12 horse here at 12-1, Forrest Boyson to ride for Lacey Gaudette. Very, very solid mid-Atlantic connections. They hit together at 23% on the winning side. Tried Keeneland at the high level allowance level last time, and frankly was in the race until that second turn. But before that, going back 3 straight wins at Colonial, all of them moving up in class each time from a 16 claimer, then to a starter allowance of 25, and then getting into an optional claimer in that kind of company as well. It frankly gets a little bit of a weight allowance here as well. I love the price here. Horse has been working at Laurel. Will come in. We'll see if that form translates from Colonial. But boy, I think we saw a bunch of great turf racing in Virginia this year, Barry. So I landed 11, 12, and 7. The 7 horse in here is Ashima. Will be fascinating with the weather on Saturday. It will be a little bit warmer than it's been, frankly. So maybe not so terrible for these shippers from South Florida, but this is one that's been running in really good company as well. I think the 3-1 number is probably pretty accurate. So that's part of the reason I didn't have this one on top, but I'll go 11, 12, 7, and 3 here. Barry, who'd you land on top here?
I'm with Danny. I think Windy Walk has a huge shot here. This horse has been running with really, really good company. We ended up seeing this horse out at Horseshoe Indianapolis over the summer. Ran in a weird race early on that card where Alpine Princess kind of wired him. And this horse really didn't have a shot. I know that was on the dirt, but the horse was kind of against the track. As you know, I've been touting that all year. But this horse's race at Kentucky Downs is really interesting. They didn't really run bad from the outside post, just didn't really have a shot, and was 4 or 5 wide the whole way. And I tend to think that a lot of those Kentucky Downs races are a little bit of an outlier. Kentucky Downs is the unique configuration, and a lot of those races, horses just throwing clunkers. And that race wasn't really a clunker. This horse was just wide. I think getting back to the turf is a really good angle. We should get a lot of that 12-1. I'm thinking more like 8 to 10. But it's all systems go. I like Windy Walk here.
It would be Windy Walk's first win on the turf in her career to this point. Josh, where did you land in Larry's 5 here?
Yeah, I'm not much different than everybody else. My top pick is going to be the 11, Goats on a Tree. I think, Mike Maker, claims a horse and decides, hey, let's keep running this horse long on the turf, and pops a win at Aqueduct, and now it's coming to the claiming crown. So, we've seen this before. I mean, he like we said, he takes these horses, he claims them, he puts them long on the turf, and they seem to respond. So I really like the 11, Goats on a Tree. I also like the 10, Windy Walk. If you look at time form, that Kentucky Downs race is second fastest race that this horse has run. So obviously liked running on the turf. And one thing that I've seen at least a little bit this year with time form is more often than I've seen in past years, the numbers, at least from these Kentucky Downs races, seem to be carrying to other tracks.
No doubt.
Before it used to be you run well at Kentucky Downs and it doesn't matter, right? Like that number doesn't matter. It's Kentucky Downs. We're gonna just cross the line through it. But that 109 obviously fits in with this group here. And I've seen it enough this year where these horses run at Kentucky Downs and, Craig gives them a certain number and they run to that number at another track. So I don't know if he's just got it dialed in now. I don't know if it's whatever they've been doing to Kentucky Downs' track that now the numbers are easier to make. But, I think Windy Walk is definitely in here with a huge shot. And the only horse that we didn't talk about is actually on the AE list, the 13 seat at the table. If this horse draws in, this horse is on all my tickets. Right, this is a horse that has run really well at a number of different tracks. Finished 5th in a stakes race out in Tampa, Florida bred stakes race. So. And that, like I said, has got a bunch of numbers in there that fit. And I think is going to get a little bit of a break here in this spot. Gets Junior Alvarado to ride. I really like this. And I like these horses that have run on real turf. You sometimes you see these Gulfstream horses come up and you're like, what the heck? Like, they haven't run on real grass in who knows how long, right? You see races at Colonial, at Aqueduct, at Tampa, right? Real turf courses here. So I think that this one definitely, those runs will translate, I think, here to Churchill.
Speed figure nerds. The figures at Woodbine and Gulfstream are a little bit overinflated. You can downgrade those just slightly or just enough, because you'll see in the racing form, especially with the buyers, they're a little bit higher than they should be, and you can adjust from there, especially those Woodbine figures.
All right, we'll move on to race 6. It is the first dirt race of the day. Race 6 is a lifetime race as well. $8,000 claiming price at any point, lifetime or lower, qualifies for this race. A mile and a 16th on the dirt, 3 and up here, 100,000 on the line. I get to go first here. This is essentially the undercard race for the essentially, the 10th race here later in the card, which is essentially the classic of the day. And I landed in a couple of different spots in race 6. I landed on the 6 itself. This is Curlin's Malibu. Louie Saez, the aforementioned, is aboard here. Was last seen at Aqueduct in a 1 3/16 race. Frankly, did some decent running at the very end of that one as well. But before that, did get a win at the distance at Colonial, frankly, in an $8,000 starter allowance under Paco Lopez. And every other type has been in the Joe Sharp barn for just a little bit of time. And at Churchill Downs, I trust very few people more than I trust Joe Sharp. And so I think that this is one, I think he's going to have a big day on Saturday. This is one where I think because of the numbers and different things, you might get better than 5-1 on this horse. Now, if the locals are pounding Churchill Downs horses, then maybe not with this one, but most recent work looks very good. I think is going to be at home, frankly, at Churchill Downs, despite only one start in the career. That's not even on the page. If you're looking at the past performances, I think this is one that's got a really serious shot in Curlin's Malibu. Obviously, we all know the breeding there. Freedom Road will break from the 7. This is Irad Ortiz and Richard Silliman. Why not? This horse comes in from Parks, but was running in Florida before that. Does have experience at Churchill Downs. Ran really well at a 1 1/16, which is this distance, but I get Irad in this case instead. So I'll go ahead and ride with him. Irad has won aboard the horse twice at a mile at Gulfstream Park. We'll have to go the 2 turns here. Not an angle I love for this horse, but if you go back to Delaware Park, this horse has won over 2 turns there on the dirt. 11 for 23 lifetime, 8 more times hitting the trifecta. That's right, 19 times in the trifecta in 23 lifetime races for Freedom Road. I love that kind of consistency. Then I'll go inside to the 3 horse here, Money Run. 5-1 here. I think I'll go to Danny after this one, but an interesting one for Peter Miller, who did win going the 2 turns at Los Alamitos. Before that, going the 2 turns at Del Mar as well. And this is one that was in for 8 just a couple of races ago, but obviously has moved up, ran really well in that optional claimer at 40,000 at Los Al as well. Didn't love the slop last out. If I get the horse that I saw 2 back at Los Al, serious shot in here. So I'll land in this one, 6, 7, 3, and 12. Danny, is this the Miller you wanted to talk about by chance?
Absolutely. Money Run. I think it's maybe Peter's only horse on the Claim and Crown card. But I talked to him earlier this week. He really, really likes this horse. They're going to send him. He wants to lead, and he's going to go. And as long as we have the good day that I think we're going to have weather-wise, I think he'll make the lead early, and it's going to be Catch Me If You Can. You're right. He didn't start well last out at Keeneland. Horrible break, and then it was over when he jumped out of gate. But before that, 2 wins in a row, like you said, Los Al. So very impressive. Money Run. Yeah, he's my top pick here. I think he's going to make the lead. I'm a Peter Miller guy. I think he does a great job, especially at shipping horses. He's had really good success coming to Kentucky over the last couple of years.
No doubt about it. This horse does have 2 runs and 2 wins at Churchill Downs as well. Josh, did you land on someone here?
I landed on the 2 horses you guys have already talked about. I like the 6 Curlin's Malibu. I like the 3 Money Run. The thing about Money Run, you look at the 5 runs this year. You cross the line through the sprint races, you cross the line through the slop, and you got 2 really, really good efforts going 2 turns. And this is a horse that seems to love the Churchill Downs surface with the 2 wins. So I really like Money Run. I always like speed at Churchill Downs. He's inside drawn. He should be your leader. But if the pace does get pretty hot, I think that it will set up for a horse like the 6 Curlin's Malibu. I think, if Louie Saez ever needs a new jockey agent, I think I should just be him, because I just keep on landing on Louie Saez horses. So I think I just know the horses that he wants to ride. I think that if things get, really fast on the front end, this is a horse that's going to sit a nice tracking trip in, 5th or 6th. And I think be able to kind of trip out here. Has got plenty of races, I think, that win this race. If you go back to the race 2 back, especially at Colonial. So 3 and 6 is all I got here.
Wow. Okay. Kieran McLaughlin representing Louie Saez at Oaklawn this winter. I'm sure Kieran not in a hurry to give up that gig. Barry, who you got in this race, buddy?
Yeah, I'm going a different direction. I think Time for Trouble might lay over this field. I mean, this is a big drop down into this kind of company. I know this horse seems to lag back, but man, this is the easiest competition this horse has faced in a while. You'll see Krupe in the lines next, Lambeth, Navy Seal last time. Yeah, there's a lot of good horses this horse was facing, and really not embarrassing himself. And I think this is the right spot. 2 turns, definitely. I would like to see longer, but I think this horse can do it against this competition. 4-1 seems like a fair price. I also want to give a shout to the 12 Blast Radius. I think this is a hot horse. They claimed this horse back in July, and this horse seems to have improved. If Jose Ortiz can get this horse in position and settle instead of trying to go for a lead, but that might be the move. It depends, because I'm not really too sure how fast this pace is going to be up front. But having a rider like Jose Ortiz on a horse like this is probably your best asset, because he's going to try to get good position, and that might make all the difference. I think this horse can hang in there at a price.
Trying to remember the last time Luis Ramirez had a horse at Churchill Downs that I can remember.
I want to make. Can I make one point about Time for Trouble? Barry brought him up.
Yeah.
This will be his. He will try to become the third, a 3-time winner at the Claiming Crown. He could be the first horse to win 3 Claiming Crown races in his career. So Time for Trouble. He's obviously he's been in this event before, so that will be an interesting thing if he could win, and I think he absolutely can. The first 3-time winner in Claiming Crown history.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Great tidbit. That's that's why we have the schmuck from Smart on. That's why we do it. You understand? I mean, Spud. Better notes over there. A person that's not even there. Louie Rabeau, Josh Rodriguez, Barry Spears, and Danny Brewer hanging out with you on a Thursday edition of the Horse Racing Happy Hour. It is our Claiming Crown preview. We move into the late pick 5. It starts with race 7. Now we get into the races that are specific to 2024 and 2025. This one is for horses that have started for at least $12,500 at the most. 1 mile on the dirt here, fillies and mares 3 and up. Barry, you are going to go first here, $100,000 on the line here in race 7. I like a bunch of double-digit horses here. Who'd you land on?
I like a horse quite a bit in this race.
Okay.
The 11 Next Girl.
Totally agree.
And I'm going to tell you why. Basically, I locked in on this horse's 1-turn races on the dirt. That leaves 3. The December 7th, 2024 race, where this horse won going away by 2 at Laurel at 7 furlongs. The Colonial race, August 21st, 2025, wins going away in a similar race. Last time, which is the real key, is the Maryland Million Distaff. And this horse broke almost dead last, got swung out wide, shuffled back while being wide, made sort of a middle move and kind of flattened out. And I think that was the perfect prep for a race like this. There's not too much speed in here. Some of it a little cheap, but there's enough for where this horse is going to get a great trip, getting top-notch rider in Jose Ortiz. Again, very positional type rider, which I think this horse needs, and I think they're going to take it. 5-1's fair price. Probably won't get that. I'd say probably about 7-2.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. Totally agree there. On the, I should update which race we're on. On the 11 horse there, Next Girl. Josh, did you land on somebody here?
Yeah, I landed on 2 horses in this spot. My top pick was actually the 9 Sadie the Goat. I thought, this is the horse that. Yeah, I know. I guess we're going with a goat theme this time, and this is the horse that has rattled off a number of wins at Thistledown here. It looks like 6 in a row, and you kind of look, and it looks like the horse is just getting better and better and better. All those going a mile here. So I like this horse here. Speed figure wise, this is the horse that seems to match up pretty well with what's going on here. I am a little concerned that, the horse is really only one wire to wire, and I do think that it's going to be a bit contested, more contested than maybe she's used to seeing. But I think 4-1's a fair price, and I do think people might look at the connections, and they're gonna see Jose Ortiz, they're gonna see other big names, and they're gonna kind of look at slightly smaller connections coming in from Ohio, and maybe this horse doesn't take as much money. So I think the 9 Sadie the Goat at like 4-1 or better, I think is a really nice bet. The number 10 Beau Soleil is the other horse I like, and This is the horse that's won going this mile trip at Churchill Downs. It looks like 5 back, with a nice 102 speed figure there. And that was back with Michael Rivas. And now we're in Steve Asmussen's barn. They had this horse over at Remington Park. And the last race at Remington Park, set some pretty decent fractions up front and was able to hold off and win in that race. So I do think that maybe this horse has just got is a little bit more proven with a little bit of pace pressure. So, I think the 10 at 8-1 might be a little bit more of a value play, but I think I'll have the 9 still, Sadie the Goat, as my top pick in the spot.
There you go. More goats for you, Danny.
I'm going to go with with Joshua Beausoleil. That's my top pick. If I can get 8-1 on Steve Asmussen at Churchill Downs, I'm going to take it all day. Plus, my youngest boy Bo, one of the fastest kids you've ever seen in your life.
There you go.
I'm telling you, I would laugh, except that when Danny does that, it works. I don't like it, but it works. I don't. That's Mystic Jan how it went. I'm telling you, I'm just not gonna even argue with him at this point in my career. It's just not worth it. I have all double-digit horses in the top of my selections: 11, 13, 12, and 10. I'll talk about the 13 and Mercy Warren. Do you guys know who Mercy Warren was?
No.
All right. I guess nobody went to college. She was an American poet.
Hey.
She good college.
Oh! What? That's 2 shots.
It was unnecessary shots. She died in the early 19th century, and I imagine that's who they named the horse after. This is now one that's owned by Joe Sharp. Brian Hernandez Jr. gets the mount. Let's just look at what this horse has been doing in Start Allowance Company. Second by a nose, second by a neck. At 7 furlongs, at 1 mile, both of those over 1 turn. We go back to Saratoga over the turn and a quarter. Wins under IRAD there at the 12.5 level. And that's what this horse has been doing recently. I get Joe Sharp at Churchill Downs. He and Brian hit at 21% there, 20% overall. This one just makes a ton of sense to me. Gets to keep the Lasix here as well. So I'll have that 13 involved in my tickets as well. I think Next Girl, as we talked about, is really interesting. Like a Rolling Stone here, the 12. Axel Concepcion, Antonio Arriaga trains here, has been running at Aqueduct, and I'm always reticent to include Aqueduct horses at other places, but I think in this company, it makes a lot of sense. It's a horse that'll be racing for the 16th time this year in this race. God bless him. And God bless, sorry, I should say, excuse me, but it's hit the board already 10 times in 15 runs this year. And that's been at a lot of different places, whether it's at Aqueduct or Monmouth or Saratoga or back at Aqueduct in a different kind of meet and those sorts of things. Lots of different jockeys. Axel knows the place, and I wonder if we won't get a good ride from him. Give this one a real chance to be there, but I love the consistency, hitting the board in a solid 2/3 of the races this year. So I'm going to throw the 12 there in at my handicapping as well before we move on to race 8. Josh will go first on this one. This is for horses that have started for a claiming price of $25,000 or less in 24 and 25. 5.5 on the turf here. Of course, we throw Josh the old turf sprint. It's for 3 and up, 150K on the line here. Josh, sprint away, buddy. Who we going on?
I'll tell you what, before we get into this, this card is absolutely nuts with just the amount of horses. This is, going from this, and then we're going to be rolling into Turfway Park in a couple weeks where you're going to get 14 horses every single race. It's beautiful, right? People have been complaining about exacta payouts on Twitter, and guess what? When you get 12, 14 horse fields, those exacta payouts are going to get juiced. So, I think I kind of went with 2 horses in here. I think of the short prices, the 4 Frosty View is probably the horse I want the most of. This is a horse that started off the year with a couple of nice turf sprint wins. One going 5, and then one. Well, I guess it's more of a route going 7.5, and then stayed at Canterbury. Seemed to kind of improve speed figure wise there, and I think winning that race at Keeneland is probably got maybe the best win of recent note you could see among this field. So, I'm a little concerned because I don't know if he gets the lead in here, and he seems to do his best running when he gets the lead. So, he is going to have to track a little bit. He did it last time, right? Sat just off the pace, and I think he's going to need a similar trip here in order to win. But I like of the short price, I like Frosty View the best. But man, there's a horse I got a soft spot for in this race, and that's the number 11 Bad Beat Brian. I mean, man, this horse for a number of years just always showed up to these turf sprint races and always ran, right? I'm not necessarily saying like this horse was running in the money, but when this horse was in Brittany Vandenberg's barn, I mean, this horse would show up in big races and you could just be like, you know what? I got to use this horse in third place at my trifecta. This horse at some insane price is going to get third. I don't know why, but it will. This horse is just a hard knocking, hard trier, and is a horse that's got a lot of back class, you know, has been in a lot of stakes races, and has run well in those. So now in Steve Asmussen's barn, and you know, he's had him for 3 starts, and you know, I think fourth up here, we could see if we can see a little bit, you know, running back to some of the figures that this horse ran at 6 and 7. I think this horse has definitely got a shot, especially if things get really fast on the front end. And then really the only other horse I had written down, if this horse draws in, is the 13 horse, High Front, the other Steve Asmussen horse. This is a horse that's got some races that just, I mean, kind of are standouts, at least on time form. And this is a horse that doesn't need the lead. And in a race where this horse is going to be drawn all the way on the outside if he draws in, I think being able to work out a trip and track is going to, you know, is probably going to be the way to win from, you know, 12 posts or wider. So I'm going to use the 4 as my top pick, but I'm going to have a little bit of the 11 and the 13 in here.
Barry, where'd you go, buddy?
Yeah, I'm going to throw one downfield.
Yeah, you are.
In this race. I think this one's a little bit wide open. I know Frosty View does kind of speed figure wise might be a little bit better, but there's other speed in here to contend with. Speed figures, there's a lot of speed, and I think some other horses are going to try to get involved. That being said, I'm going to try the 7, Chrysler. For it not Nash and no balls, this horse would have won 4 in a row earlier this year. And I think they kind of went off form by the time they got to Kentucky Downs preview day at Ellis. But you'll notice in that last race, the horse kind of showed more speed than they had been showing previously, which tells me that they might be rounding into form. And the fact that this horse is drawn a little bit outside is very good too. You'll notice a lot of the clunkers that this horse threw in, this horse was inside. Now they get a post that's probably more favorable. Chris Amy obviously knows this horse very, very well. I think this horse might get a great trip. At a big price like this, this is like the across-the-board play. I really didn't have too much of an opinion otherwise. Just the fact that I just don't like playing chalk anyway. I'm going to give a go with Chrysler.
Yeah, no, Chrysler won earlier this year in a high-level allowance at Keeneland, right? I mean, so it's not out of this.
Not impossible at 30 to 1.
I totally agree, man.
I've bet worse. Trust me.
I was a Breeders' Cup with you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
What was I going to ask Danny about? I had some kind of joke for Danny. Now I don't have a joke for Danny. Go ahead. I made fun of Barry.
You're too busy joking on Barry. Thank you, Barry, for being on the show. Now you get the jokes instead of me. Yeah.
Who you got here, Danny? Who's sprinting for you?
You know, I love these turf sprints. So exciting. Anything can happen, especially on a day like today. But I'm going with the 1 horse Speed Figures, aptly named, right? Errata Ortiz riding, Candy Ride in the Bloodlines. I love Candy Ride. Kelly J. Breen, the trainer, he trained one of the horses I love, Pants on Fire. Y'all remember Pants on Fire from way back? Yeah. So Pants, but anyway, that's got nothing to do with Speed Figures. I think Speed Figures, very consistent, 6 out of 9 in the top 2 in 9, this year. Likes to be on the lead. I think if he breaks well, Mike could pull a She's So Spicy and get on out there and leave them all in the dust.
I went 1, 4, 11, and 6 in here, and the 6 is shape note. This is actually what I was going to ask you about, Danny. This feels like a Mike Maker special. Dirt. That's literally the past performances available on the screen. This horse previously, though, 3 for 6 on the turf. I'm throwing that one in because that just feels like a Mike Maker I should have had in my ticket kind of horse. I'm just
when you put Jose Ortiz in the irons too, bam, like a double, like the daily double right there.
Just telling you. That just feels like one to me. Not even throwing down I'm not even throwing down field like Barry Spears does. You understand? Not even doing that. We'll move on to race 9 here.
Yeah, you there, Mr. Ethical Diamond.
I can't steal all of Barry's stuff. We'll move into the late pick 3. If you haven't played the late pick 3 at Churchill in a while, frankly, Saturday might be the day. It is a $3 minimum, 15% takeout. It has been paying better than the late pick 4 by a lot. At Churchill Downs, so that is something to look into. Danny's going to go first here in race 9. This is a started for $16,000 or less in 2024-25 races. 7 furlongs on the dirt for 3 and up, $125,000 on the line here. And these are always tricky races, trying to figure out who's going to be good at 7 furlongs. Danny, who'd you land on here?
So I'm going with 2 horses that ran against each other. Keen Cat, I like him. Brian Hernandez riding, won his last out, but cutting back in distance here. And then Gilmore. Gilmore is got Luis Saez, our boy Luis Saez is riding. Gilmore has been one of those horses that, it's like he runs, you just like think, oh yeah, man. And then he runs, you're like, well, I don't know. So he's been very inconsistent, but at times flash brilliant. So my top 2 here is Keen Cat and Gilmore. And, if we're going to take a little bit of a swing, the 5 horse, Twirling Trolley. I think that horse at a price 30-1, but could be something that somebody could hit the board. A horse to play across the board for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, especially getting back to this kind of distance. Horse hasn't done it in a while, but we have seen at a mile over different surfaces, etc. Barry, where'd you land in this one?
I landed on the 8, Take Charge Smiling. I just think this horse is in great form. They claimed this horse 2 back at Aqueduct, came back in a race similar to this one. I think this horse is just going to get a great trip. Charlton Baker doesn't really ship out too much. I think they got a live one here and gets Tyler G to the hoop, my friend.
Barry played basketball, Danny. That's the reference there. Nation's the 13 horse here. One last out at Keeneland amongst non-3 lifers, which this horse this year has hit the board, been in the try 6 times in 8 runs, breaking its maiden this year as a 5-year-old. You love these kinds of races. And frankly, if you get rid of the turf races, this horse has been in the try 5 of 6 runs. Runs at that 7 furlongs at Keeneland last out, wins under Irad Ortiz, was stalking the entire time. And I think that's the kind of form that can translate to other places. Now that horse broke from the 5 last time, is going to have to do a little bit more work from the outside there in the 13, but I think can absolutely get it done on the slight improve here. They left the horse in Kentucky after the race at Keeneland on the 17th of October, just a little bit under a month between races, but has been working at the training center, Thoroughbred Training Center here, and should be ready to go by the time we get to Saturday. Where'd you land on top here, Josh?
Yeah, I kind of went with the other Ortiz. I went with the 7, My Noble Knight. I thought, this is a horse that is kind of had a weird couple last races where it's like I don't know if they know what to do with this horse. They're going a mile, the 1-turn mile, mile and 16th, mile and the 8th. I think his best race has been that 1-turn or that weird mile out of the chute at Saratoga. Yes. So, I do think that 7 furlongs is actually going to fit this horse pretty well. I like the fact that Jose Ortiz has ridden this horse multiple times and sees fit to ride here. So I really like the 7 My Noble Knight in this spot. And at a bit of a price, I actually really like the 2 horse, Mia Comet. This is a horse that has kind of had an up and down year. Started off at Oak Lawn and, didn't look like was really going to do much. Came to Churchill Downs, couple of thirds. But I really think the last 3 races have started to look a little bit better. You had back-to-back seconds at Churchill Downs and Ellis Park. And then, the wheels kind of fell off a little bit that last race. But, that race 2 back at Ellis actually really fits with this group. I like the fact that this horse is inside drawn. This horse is going to have a lot of speed in front of him. And I do think that there's a chance that, if he's able to just kind of sit on the rail, he might be able to save a little bit of ground and kind of close in on what could be a hot pace here. So at a bit of a price, I like the 2 Mia Comet. My top pick in this race is the 7 My Noble Knight.
Mia Comet, by the way, is a very interesting runner. I was watching that race on July 14th at Ellis Park. I still don't know how she didn't win that race. Mario Gutierrez, though, Underrated stat is winning 20% of his races, 3 for 15 to start the meet, 3 second place finishes as well. So 6 times out of 15, 40% in the top 2. That's never an accident at Churchill Downs. Josh Rodriguez, Barry Spears, Danny Brewer, and me, Louie Rabeau, hanging out with you, a Thursday evening edition of the Horse Racing Happy Hour. We're previewing the Claiming Crown at Saturday out there at Churchill Downs. If you would like more, you're welcome to join me tomorrow for an hour of horse racing banter, and then getting back into college football at the end of the show on ESPN Louisville. You can join me at 10 Eastern time, starting at 10:20. We'll talk with Joe Sharp, Anthony Pascal from FanDuel, and of course, Damon Thayer will keep us up to date on all of the goings on, certainly with decoupling in Florida and some other issues as well. So we'll get all of them in to the show tomorrow. You're welcome to join us at ESPNLouisville.com. Race 10 is another race in which you had to qualify based on your claiming price in the last 2 years, $35,000 or less in 24 and 25. A mile and an eighth on the dirt here. It's essentially the classic. So I get to go first. That's how this works. 3 and up and $200,000 on the line. Race 10. I went first in race 6. I landed on the 6. I'm going first in race 10, and I'm going to land on the 10. Rowan Crichton trains. Louie Saez rides. And this is Burning Hot. This is a son of Bernardini, a 4-year-old here, and has really come into his own this year. 4 for 6 in the win column, has not been outside of the top 3, and that was here at Churchill Downs, where he is 4 for 8 lifetime. Does have a win at the distance and a second place finish at the distance. Only concern here is distance. Literally, that's it. This horse, this is the maximum. Going mile and an eighth. If this were a mile and a 16th, this might be a single for me. But the fact that the horse is going to, whatever happens in this race, it's going to be an idiomatic with Florent Giroux. There's going to be a horse right next to it. It's just going to happen. I'm warning people ahead of time. I think you're going to get 4-1, but I think he's been very, very good this year. His is stationed there just down Poplar Level Road at the Churchill Downs Training Center. And so a home game for Burning Hot as well. I'll land on the 10 here. I'll go to the 12. Lots of double digits for me. Navajo Warrior gets Irad Ortiz for Safi Joseph Jr. And this is one that just won at Churchill Downs, and I think will be the horse that is chasing my top pick in Burning Hot. I think the 2 of them will come to the line here, 10 and 12. This one has won 5 races in a row. The other race was a second place finish on the turf at Santa Anita, then won on the turf at Santa Anita before switching to the dirt. Left the Tim Yakteen barn to move east and has been very, very good since then, this son of Candy Ride. So I will go 10, 12, 13, and 1 in this one. Barry, I'll go to you next. Who'd you land on in the Classic?
I ended up on number 2, Cadet Corps. This horse has been really good all year. I mean, those first 2 races of the year were less than ideal. And really only the first one was, and it was on the turf, and this horse really isn't a turf horse, obviously. But after that, this horse has been right there every single time in better company, drops down for this. I think this horse is going to be tough off the layoff.
Cadet Corps comes in. If you take out the turf races, where the horse is total overall 15 for 41 lifetime, 8 for 14, never been out of the trifecta in 14 races on fast dirt. Cadet Corps breaking from the 2 as Barry mentioned. Danny, who'd you land on here?
So I think that Burning Hot is the horse to beat here. I agree with you there, but I want to take a little bit of a swing here because this is the Classic, very deep race. I like the 1, Gilded Kraken, Jose Ortiz, Joe Sharp. You've already talked a lot about Joe Sharp and him at Churchill Downs. Yep. How about the 11 horse? This is what Barry does on Saturday nights. Dance some mo. That's what he, won his last race.
You know me.
I do. Yeah. And so, and then the other horse that I like is probably where I live most of the time. Alternate Reality, another Joe Sharp horse that's ridden by Brian Hernandez. A hard knocker. He's been there. He just can't quite get over the hump. But still. In the money, 7 out of 9 times this year. Alternate Reality.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of different ways to go here, Josh. Did you land on someone we haven't mentioned yet by chance?
No, unfortunately, I'm seeing it the same way Barry is. I think the 2 Cadet Corps is going to be the horse to beat in this spot. This is a horse that's been just very, very consistent. And I think basically drew about as well as this horse could have because all of the speed is way, way on the outside, right? The 13-point Dern is going to need to go. Obviously the 10 Burning Hot. And so those horses are going to have to, spend a little bit of energy to go ahead and cross over in front of this 2. And I think the 2 is just going to sit a real nice trip behind the speed. And Junior Alvarado's just got to work out that trip, I think, from the rail and see if he can, get an opening and just go. So I really do think that the 2 Cadet Corps is in here, probably with my top pick. I actually really like the 12 Navajo Warrior. I'm not a huge fan of the price. I do think, the horse is coming in 4 straight wins. The horse looks okay on speed figures. He matches up well in here. This is a horse. If this horse was like double the price, we're talking like 6 to 1, 7 to 1. I'd be like, hey, this is my top pick. But this is a horse that obviously can win. Gets IRAD aboard, right? I mean, and that alone is probably enough to bet this horse. So I like the 2 Cadet Corps as my top pick. I'll have Navajo Warrior though on a few tickets as well.
Navajo Warrior here looks almost too good to be true. I mean, that's really my reservation on the horse. I mean, he's run good, especially the last 3. But I don't know, just something about this race doesn't seem like a race for that horse for some reason.
There you go. I was just glad to see the last effort at Churchill Downs where he was closing, frankly, because not everyone's been able to close recently at Churchill Downs. So that's been a real positive, frankly. The closer on the card is race 11. We'll go back to Barry for this one. This is for horses who have started for a claiming price of $25,000 or less in 2024 and 25. Mile and a 16th on the turf. We're going 2 turns again on the grass. 3 and up here. 175K on the line. The big turf race of the day, Barry. And I thought, frankly, a pretty fun one as well. If you can try to beat Risk Manager, will you?
Oh, yeah. I think this horse is pace compromised. There's really not much speed in here. And this horse likes to launch from way back. And I just don't think that's ideal in a race like this. So I'm definitely against that horse. I honestly thought Echo Lane is probably the horse to beat more than Risk Manager, just for positional speed. But I decided to go away from that horse too. I ended up on the 4 Nantasket Beach. This horse,
great pick.
That last race was just wide the whole way. Didn't really get a good shot at it, and still kind of ran in spots, especially early. But prior to that, ran a really bang-up race at Churchill. Probably more like a perfect trip sort of win, but very consistent all year. I think this horse is really primed to run a really good race. Lauren Robson's done a phenomenal job since claiming this horse back in January, and really got this horse in the right kind of frame of mind and running well. I think that should continue, and they'll get the job done. I think we should get about that 8 to 1 too.
I think you're right. 4 wins this year, all of them on turf. Danny, who'd you land on in the closer?
So, my big swing horse is King Curlin.
Right.
Son of Curlin, don't have a lot of reasons other than I love the Curlin horses. And I think sometimes you got to take a swing. Another one that I kind of like is Goes the Clown. Imagine that, me, Goes the Clown. But just because I think that, this is another horse that, 5 out of 7 in the money this year. I like those horses that consistently finish in the top 3, because I think if you keep knocking on the door, sooner or later you're going to get in. And like I said, 3 wins in 2 seconds and 7 starts this year. So Goes the Clown. That's another horse that I like.
Yeah, it gets back into. I mean, when the horse was in Jose D'Angelo's barn, it was winning. Right, moves to a different barn. They try him at 1.5 miles at Keeneland. Immediately moves to the Maker barn. It feels like a Maker special there. Josh, who'd you land on in the closer here?
Yeah, you might want to hit me with the Mind of Spears, because I also landed once again on the 4 in Nantasket Beach. Honestly, one of the things I love about this horse is, Churchill Downs turf has kind of become its own thing. I feel like, and I don't know if part of it was because of just the weirdness that they had with, not being able to grow grass in the state of Kentucky, which is just, I don't know how you do that, but I think this is a horse that's
Josh, I have to be there tomorrow. Come on. Make me laugh. I gotta talk to these people.
But
come on.
But the fact that this horse has got to run over this course and has got to win, and it happens to be the horse's fastest speed figure over the last couple of the last year, and is the fastest speed figure I think in the entire field. Just makes me think this is a horse that likes his surface, and I think is going to run really, really well in this spot. I think some of the short prices, could get there. I mean, I'm not running to the window to bet, 2-1 on the 3 risk manager. I mean, obviously this is a horse that's in here in great form, but I don't know. To me, the 4 looks just as good, if not better, and you're going to get 4 times the price on that horse. So I like the 4 Nantasket Beach, and that's all I got in this race.
Yeah, I agree. The 4 is a big time contender. Echo Lane, very interesting, breaking from the 9. Another Crichton and Louie Saez combination. This is one that Louie's ridden before, has ridden to victory before at Churchill Downs. 2 for 3 lifetime, has finished second as well over the course. I think the 7 in here is really interesting, and Mr. Abario. I'm just hoping that this horse doesn't pass every medical protocol and then get scratched 5 minutes before the race. That's what we're hoping for in this one. You know exactly who you are, and shame on all of you. But Mr. Abario comes in for Safi, and I think a very interesting one. This is one that Micah Husbands has been riding both at Colonial and at Gulfstream. Didn't fire last time out, but that was at an extremely high level. If we get back to some of that allowance even type of company that this one was running in. Now we're going a little bit further, but this is one that's tried the distance before and never won. Man, I'm really interested, especially this year with the 3 wins in 8 runs, hit the board 6 times. I get Jose here as well. This one I think sets up to be interesting, certainly in exactas and trifecta. So I'm going to throw Mr. Abario into all of those tickets.
Full disclosure,
I
almost picked the 1. Nobody talked about him, but I think that horse is going to get an excellent trip. The Invader from Horseshoe Indy has a real good shot here because there's not much speed, and I think this horse might be able to wing it and last for a long time in this race.
Gewürztraminer is the name of that horse. Barry, where do they make Gewürztraminer?
Germany.
That is correct.
Correct. Ding.
Good job. Good job out of you. It's a very fine white wine. They do a good job with their white wines in Germany.
I sip that.
And pretzels. Yeah.
I don't drink it. I sip it.
There you go. Favorite bet on the day. Does anyone have a horse that they think they're going to be building tickets around? That kind of thing. Anybody got one of those? Barry, you said you had one earlier. Who was it?
Yeah, the 11. Was it next? Wait, I got to go back to my race here. In the 7th.
Okay.
So
Next Girl. Okay.
Next Girl. There you go.
I agree on that one. Yep. No, so Next Girl.
Next Girl. That's the all-in horse. If we get that one home, we're gonna hit a lot of bets. A lot.
Danny, is the Peter Miller horse your standout?
Yeah, Money Run. Yeah, it's Miller time, baby. In the 6th race, we like the 3 Money Run. I think he's the one.
There's always a joke. It's unbelievable. The schmuck from Smyrna. I'll tell you what. Josh, could you lose your best play of the day?
Yeah, I really like the 4 Nantasket Beach in the last race. I will give one bonus. I really, really like the 5 in the 2nd race on that card. Oh, okay. She's not a joke. She's 12-1 on the morning line. But if you cross, I mean, this is the horse that has only in the last 12 starts has only gone 2 turns once. Best speed figure in the entire field. I think getting back to 2 turns is going to be perfect for this horse. 12-1 on the morning line. So I'll take a shot there as well.
I'll lean on Curlin's Malibu. The 6 in race 6. I'll go back to that one. I think the numbers actually didn't creep up on that one. I think we'll get better than 5-1 just because the horse has only won once this year, but that was in considerably more difficult company. So I will lean on the 6 in race 6 for my main play of the day. Again, want to thank our friends at Never Say Die. If you are coming up on needing a Thanksgiving gift or a Christmas gift or a Hanukkah gift or a Kwanzaa gift or whatever else you might be working on for the horse player in your life, go check them out at neversaydieBourbon.com. Find out where they're distributed in your area as well. Well, Josh, we appreciate you jumping on. Tell people where they can find you.
Yep, you can find me on Twitter at CherryDrank, and you can find me and my boys doing our streams at wrong_lead or on the wrong lead on YouTube.
There you go. Barry, I'll find you with me on Fridays. Is that good enough, or do you need other things to talk about?
Yeah, we do a little Notorious OTB, a little DRF, and there you have it, and some bourbon on Kwanzaa. That's my goal this year.
Darn right. Which day of Kwanzaa is your favorite? I won't ask you that, Danny. Danny, what's the... I
thought that was a question for Danny, honestly.
A really great job. Okay. Danny, Forbes, WGNS, there's places to find you in there.
Yeah, you can find me on WGNS.com, Forbes.com, and also HorseRacingScoop.com.
There it is.
You know, the Never Say Die. It's a fantastic bourbon. That's how you need to do your handicapping. If you're losing, never say die, baby. You remember, if you got a hunch, you bet a bunch, you back a horse and get paid.
Call that ethical diamond. That's what we do, folks. That's how it is. There we go.
Amen, brother.
There
Amen.
it is. Yep, I bet that steak tasted good. All right, boys. Let's get out of
Sure
here.
did.
and
the
how
celebration
about that
in the
lava
press
cake?
box.
The lava cake too, baby.
Oh man, it's all
And
good
the
stuff.
celebration in the press box.
That part, very. Everyone will appreciate that. They're in the main press box. Go ahead, Barry. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I jumped on your back, so no, literally I did.
There's two. I mean, just my guys from Frank Eggs, Byron King from Mount Blood Horse. The LA Times box is next to us, so poor John Sherva's in there with Mike Tierney. I don't know who's to our right because by then the blinkers of Barry Spears' arms were on my face, and there was no chance I was going to see anything else that was going on. But Ethical Diamond just ran home. Frankly, looked like Sovereignty in the Derby. Like easy money. Like, what are we doing here? The old track record there at Del Mar as well, where he's Barry, he's Danny, he's Josh. My name is Louie. I'm off next week. So check us out tomorrow morning on ESPN Radio here in Louisville, ESPNLouisville.com. From 10:20 Eastern to 11:20 Eastern, we'll talk horses live from Churchill Downs ahead of the Claiming Crown. Thanks, guys, for being on. We'll talk to you next time.